Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope everybody's doing good out there today, and thanks for taking a few minutes out of your day to check it out. Much appreciated. And today I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a discussion, sort of like maybe an opinion piece a little bit on why bass anglers get cranky when they get old. Specifically, why do tournament bass anglers get cranky when they get old? So I've got a lot of input on this. I think you guys might find it interesting. But hey, before we get started, just a couple housekeeping tips I wanted to remind you guys. I don't know if you guys remember, but I'm on my channel here. I'm offering the Intuitive Angling t-shirts for sale. So if you guys are interested in ordering some t-shirts for summertime, we got them on there. Come in a lot of different colors. You can order those, right through the just go on my YouTube homepage, and it's on there. And also just the weekly reminder that I'm also offering memberships to the channel. And you can go on the About section of my homepage, click on Intuitive Memberships. Got several different options on there as far as, like extra videos for the members, my personal email address for fishing questions. And, it's a really great way to support the channel if you'd like to do that. And one final thing, just wanted to remind you guys, check out all of our new Fish the Moment lake map breakdowns. Getting a lot of good summer maps out there. Check them out on fishthemoment.com. See if your favorite lake's on there, and if you got a lake that you want broke down, just make a request for it. So okay, let's get into this grumpy, gripey, crotchety old bass fisherman topic we're talking about here. I remember, even though I'm one of the older guys now fishing, I mean, it just seemed like yesterday I was one of the young guns out there, one of the young guys, a little bit cocky, young, in my early 20s, starting out. I remember what that's like. It's not like I've forgotten about that. I remember what all that feels like to be there. And I also remember back even when I started out in bass club fishing, back when I was a teenager, like in the late 1970s, still in high school, there were some old dudes in the bass club that I fished in, and man, I swear there's motorcycles every time I get here to do a video on. But anyway, there was some old dudes in the bass club that I fished in that they were just crotchety and cranky, and I just sort of thought that was just the way people got when they got older. And I got noticing it too back when I started fishing the tour, back when I was in my early 20s. I'd get around some of the older fishermen out there, and they seemed like they were always moaning and complaining and griping about stuff. And, I chalked it up to just, being old for whatever reason. I didn't really think much about it. And I started noticing a trend that almost every older angler that I was around was just cranky. I mean, they were just crotchety and cranky a lot of times. And, I never thought about it until I started getting older as an angler myself. And it creeps up on you. I started out when I was in my 20s, and before you know it, you're in your 30s, and then you're in your 40s, and then you're in your 50s, and time just flies. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's just like we're really here on this planet for just a blink of an eye, and you turn your head the wrong direction, and it's about everybody's life's half over or about over. It just doesn't take any time at all. But anyway, I started noticing as I progressed as an angler a little bit that I started getting a little bit more cynical. I was always, super positive, super optimistic when I was younger. And I noticed that every couple years that started chipping away at me a little bit. And to the point now where I've had, my wife says it sometimes, and I've had people say it, man, you're just cranky, you're crotchety, all that type of stuff. And I got looking at it and said, yeah, I'm sort of like, morphing into one of those guys that I remember talking about when I was 20 years old. But the difference is I've got an awareness about it. I'm aware of that fact, but I really want to talk about why that happens. Why that happens to people to get cranky and crotchety when they get older. And I can use my own specific situation here, and I can also relate it to a lot of anglers that I've seen, because I don't know anybody that's immune to it really to a full extent. But what happens is, as an angler, specifically a tournament angler, when you're in your 20s and you're starting out, everything is new and fresh. You don't have that many years under your belt. You don't have that much experience. Usually everybody starts out, with this tide of passion and enthusiasm usually comes a moderate or a great degree of success for whatever reason. All those combinations come together. Plus on the fact that, you're not familiar with traveling around the country. Everything's new, everything's fresh, all the experiences are new and fresh. And then as you get into your 30s, you get a little bit more experienced. It's not quite as exciting driving 20 hours to Florida like it was when you first started out. And then throughout the course of fishing more tournaments, you start to see a lot of the things that start chipping away at just every aspect of an angler's life to get them to start to be more cranky. And normally what this happens, it can be, missing a check by an ounce or two 3 or 4 times. It can be jumping off an 8-pounder right at the boat that cost you winning the tournament. It can be missing qualifying for the Bassmasters Classic by an ounce. It can be missing winning the Bassmasters Classic by losing the fish. All of which have happened to me, by the way. And what happens is every time that you have one of these moments in your career that is sort of a mentally devastating moment, it just chips away a little bit at your attitude, a little bit, because you know that you're not going to get those moments back most of the time. And on top of that, it's like you have everything else in life on top of your tournaments. You got everything going on at home. You've got your personal life. You've got your relationships. You've got financial stressors. You've got the aging process. You've got, you become wiser to the world. You see a lot of the how just things like how stupid politics are, or how, some businesses get away with things they shouldn't get away from. You got a lot of different aspects in the world that cause you to be cynical as you become more aware and become more experienced. And with a bass angler, if you continue to fish tournaments, you're going to have successes and failures, but basically in fishing, you fail a lot more than you succeed. Unless you're somebody like Jacob Wheeler or somebody on that caliber, you're going to fail a lot more than you succeed in tournament fishing. And those failures, every time you have one of those failures, it chips away at your attitude a little bit. You become just a little bit more cranky, a little bit more crotchety, and on top of that, you start to get some more aches and pains in your body, and all this stuff starts coming together and creating this crotchety old bass angler as they get older. So I don't know really anybody that's immune to that completely. I think everybody deals with that a little bit differently, and everybody handles that a little bit differently. But I think the biggest part of it is just to be aware of the fact that that's sort of the progression that it goes in. And once you're aware of that fact, you can be more aware of your attitude with it, and work on not being as crotchety like that. There's nothing wrong with griping and complaining. I think it's healthy for somebody, if you've got a grievance, if you've got, if you feel that there's been an injustice, it's really healthy to vent that and to get it out in the air, but then you have to let it go. And I think that's one of the biggest things a lot of people have problems with, is being able to let go of those frustrations and injustices. And I know in my situation, sometimes I can, sometimes I have a hard time with it like anyone else. But I just think the awareness of it is more critical than anything. But one thing that I'd recommend for my own deal is you have to find sort of outlets you have to find an outlet beyond fishing that recharges you a little bit. And like for me, my outlet is spending time with my son Elijah. When I do that, I can't be crotchety when I'm around him. It's just like it doesn't, that part of me just goes away when I spend time with him. And I think everybody to the extent has that. It could be something with just doing something you enjoy. It could be golfing, it could be cooking, it could be, watching a funny show on TV, just whatever, is your release out there. But, in the big picture of that, I think that's one of the reasons that that bass fishing is such a difficult sport. And I'm going to do a video at some point why I don't think it's a good idea for somebody to pursue a career in professional fishing. There's a lot of different reasons for that. There's some reasons why they should sometimes, but there's a lot of reasons why maybe they shouldn't. I'm going to do a video on that at some point. But anyway, guys, I just wanted to go over that a little bit. You know, bass anglers get crotchety when they get older. I don't know really anybody that's immune to it. I think it affects some anglers different. Some anglers can control it better than others, like anything else. But I think it's inevitable. If you fish tournaments and you do it for decades upon decades upon decades, unless you're just an exception to the rule, you're going to get a little bit jaded, a little bit crotchety, a little bit irritable. But there are things you can do about it. You're not like doomed to that sentence. You can transcend that, you know, to whatever levels you want to. And I know that for myself, I have a lot of work to do on that. I'm going to keep working on it, because I don't want some 20-year-old dude telling me that I'm some crotchety old bass fisherman. That's just not really the label I want. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there, guys. Let me know what you guys think about that. Shoot me your opinions on it. I'd be curious to hear. And we'll check in later. See you.